Like my last video, a little background here. I've been a Pokemon fan since the late 90s when Red and Blue and the anime came out. I was obsessed for a couple years, then I kind of fell off of it for a few years, and then I came back around the time Gen 5 came out, but I came back with the Gen 4 games, and I've been a big, consistent fan ever since. So probably like a bit over a decade now since I got back into Pokemon. So I've been a fan probably half my life combined, but most of the last 21 years. So I like to think I know a lot. I have a lot of experience with the games. I've played through pretty much every game many times, as well as a lot of fan games and fan mod games. So I love Pokemon, and this is going to be a video about my thoughts on Sword and Shield. I will start by tackling the National Dex thing just to get it out of the way so I can move on to actually talking about stuff and being happy about Pokemon and criticizing things I think are worth criticizing. So there's not going to be a National Dex in Sword and Shield, at the very least not at release. It seems like they had no plans on including it, but with all the controversy around it, I wouldn't be surprised if they eventually did include it. But basically the gist of it is there will be a bunch of Pokemon from previous generations, plus the Pokemon from Galar in the games. But every Pokemon from previous generations will not be in the game, nor will they be able to be transferred from something like Pokemon Home/Bank into the games, which a lot of people are angry about because apparently the only joy in Pokemon is spending hours grinding away and not having fun to have all the Pokemon in your PC. Fortunately for me, I'm not upset about this. I'm unsure if I prefer this or prefer having all the Pokemon. There's a video called How Has Pokemon Battle Animation Evolved by New Frame Plus, which is very good, very informative, a bit long you might think, but I enjoyed it. And while it didn't create my opinion, it definitely helped inform and solidify the opinion I already had. But to keep it short, Game Freak, basically since the second generation, has had problems with adding all these new Pokemon and animating them. Fortunately, when they create games on the same device as the last game, they can reuse models and animations and maybe tweak them a little bit. But every time they've gone to a new platform, they've had to redo and reanimate all the Pokemon. And starting with the 3DS, they brought in, I believe it was 50 new workers just to animate the Pokemon, just so they'd be there for the rest of the 3DS series, which probably lasted a little less time than they expected it to. So it's financially crippling, or at least very significant to them when they have to upgrade hardware. And now that they're working on a main console, something they've never done before, on a new engine with enhanced graphics and all that jazz, that makes the process of creating models for and animating each Pokemon even harder than it was before. Not to mention, Pokemon are just seen in the wild now and have their own animations outside of the games. And the environments themselves are more detailed, have more significant weather effects. There are new features added into the new game, and the backgrounds are more significant, and you can roam more within the game than you ever could before, with it being semi-open world now. The idea of them being able to create models for and then animate almost 1,000 Pokemon is absolutely ludicrous. I've also never been a fan of trying to catch every Pokemon. It would be a nice thing to be able to do, but it is so not worth the grind. It is so not worth the hassle, and it is not fun to even come close to doing that, in my opinion. So that's why personally I'm not disappointed by it, despite the fact that it would be cool to have all the Pokemon. And honestly, so many Pokemon almost no one cares about. And I've seen this thing going around, everyone has their own favorite Pokemon, and in every single Pokemon game, there have been plenty of Pokemon that at least until the post-game, you have not been able to use, or find, or catch, but people still love playing Pokemon. If my 25 favorite Pokemon, none of them are in the game, I'll be a little disappointed by it, but it won't make the game bad. It won't stop me from enjoying the game if the game is otherwise enjoyable. And I honestly don't see how you enjoy Pokemon if that is so significant to you specifically. Also, harassing the people involved with Game Freak and Pokemon Company and sending Masada death threats and stuff like that is absolutely terrible. You're a horrible human being if you do that, and you suck, and I don't like you, and it makes it even harder to sympathize with you when usually I'd be able to. So, moving on from that insanity, the rest of the stuff about the game that I think about the game. The new Pokemon they showed off, I like. I don't like the weird imp thing. Like, I don't hate it. It's just basic and not very interesting at all. The turtle thing I thought was pretty good. It's been a couple weeks since E3. I'm not going to remember pretty much any of the names except Corviknight, which I just thought of as I was saying that I wouldn't remember any of them. It's pretty cool. I liked it more when I thought it was smaller. When I thought it was like 2 feet instead of like the size of a human or whatever it is. But I still like it quite a bit. I think the Corgi is pretty cute, but if its eyes weren't weird, I'd really like it. And the sheep is really adorable, and I'm a big fan of the Flaffy line, but I think this is better, at least the first form. The graphics look good to me. There are screenshots from a demo that was probably made months ago and slapped together so they could present it at E3, and isn't even a cutout portion of the game that they had at the time that they went to E3. It's like taking a rough cut from a movie from a year ago and saying, oh man, the movie's not even finished yet. No shit. But that's not indicative of even the product that they have now, let alone the product they'll have when it comes out. But I still think it looked mostly good, despite the fact that the flat planes were flat and plain, and something like Double Kick, of all things, wasn't fully animated with a Pokemon that's already jumping up and kicking as it is. So, while if this was a preview of the actual full game, I would be more worried about that, I still wouldn't see it as significant because who cares about Double Kick? And the game mostly looks really good in my opinion. I do think they could do more with the Switch, but this is a new console for them. They only had a couple years to work with, and a lot of the backgrounds and textures and stuff are really great, but there are places that it could be more significant. Not to mention, like I said, all these Pokemon models and animations that are going on probably took a lot of time away from working on that. That being said, it still looks really fun to wander around, and despite the fact that like the Wingulls weren't very impressive, despite the fact that they do actually float like that, it stayed in multiple Pokedex entries, so that's not lazy animation, that's just what they do. I'm still really excited about seeing Pokemon in the wild. I didn't expect when I watched the game at E3 to be as excited as I was. I was absolutely giddy over the idea of running around and seeing Pokemon just hanging out in the wild. It's one of those things I've wanted in a Pokemon game basically since I started playing Pokemon games. So even if it's not expertly crafted this time, I still love the fact that it's there, and I'm still going to enjoy it. The one glaring thing that I really don't like though is the Dynamax Pokemon, and I don't like them because they look dumb. I like that they look dumb. I dislike them because I think it's another semi-broken gimmick mechanic that takes away from the fun of the battles, in my opinion. To me, the fun of Pokemon battles is raising your Pokemon, giving it a great moveset, and putting it against other Pokemon. When you throw in stuff like Mega Evolution, which I liked at first but quickly grew tired of, the Z moves, which are just dumb and goofy in a bad way, and Dynamax, which is fun and goofy in practice, but in execution is, again, another dumb, broken mechanic that takes away from the strategy being around your Pokemon and its moves specifically, and matching them up against other Pokemon and their moves, and countering those. I just don't like that they keep putting these things in the Pokemon games. I think the idea of the stadium battles is greatly diminished by the fact that you're going to have giant Pokemon, because I want a big Pokemon tournament type feel like from the anime, and that's ruined by having to just be dumb, goofy, lumbering big Pokemon, and the spectacle is that they're big Pokemon battling, not the fact that people just love Pokemon and want to go see a Pokemon battle. It has to be this big spectacle for people to come, despite the fact that this is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Type world where everything revolves around Pokemon. Despite this, though, I'm really excited about the new Pokemon game. I don't think it will be, but I think it has the potential to be the best Pokemon game yet, especially now that they have a console where they can consistently generate patches, whether it be for more Pokemon, whether it be for additional in-game content or post-game content being added throughout the game's life cycle, and I'm just really excited about it. Despite the fact that I don't own a Switch yet, so I probably won't be playing it when it comes out, I'm really excited about the game. I'm really excited even if I just have to watch people play the game as opposed to playing it myself, and I think it's a great time to be a Pokemon fan. I'm happy about it, and Pokemon is awesome, and I'm done now.